Hey guys, welcome to the Live Look, and today I really want to get into how the fuck is Donovan Mitchell so close to having an opportunity to make it past the second round before Chris Paul can. Chris Paul has been in this league forever, and he hasn't been able to get past the second round. Let's be fucking real here. Chris Paul needs to step his game up. He made a huge mistake going to the Rockets. That was fucking bullshit. I don't know why he went to the Rockets. They already had a point guard. All last season, James Harden played as a point guard on the Rockets, and then he just decides to go to the Rockets. And now, instead of the other thing is, I wish they would have been, normal and had James Harden start as a point guard and then Chris Paul be a bench player. But of course, no. They want to incorporate both of them as a starting position. So it's basically now just impossible to try and win with two guards and, in my opinion, no other fucking players. Clint Capella isn't bad, but he is not good, and it just makes me laugh how ridiculous it is that all I see is in these playoff games, like last night, James Harden comes in, dribbles the ball, and gets a little 2-on-1 action, and then quick lob to Capella. Capella just needs to jump, goes right in. I think that's bullshit. I think the Utah Jazz defense needs to stop that, and if they can stop that, they'll easily beat them. Especially the nights that James Harden and Chris Paul don't have good shooting percentages. I mean, yeah, you could say that the Warriors all they do is shoot, and but this is the thing: the nights that they don't shoot well, they still win. They had a game against the Spurs where they shot horribly. They shot horrible from the three-point line, and they still won by 8. How the fuck do they still win if they have bad shooting games? That means you have to actually be good at everything. Another thing is that the Houston Rockets don't have is defense. James Harden can't really play defense. Chris Paul can kind of play defense. I'll give him that. I think he can play pretty decent defense, but he's too short. So if he ever gets a bigger guy at the point guard position, he's fucked. I mean, I'm not saying he can't guard, but it's gonna be tougher if he has to guard like a Ben Simmons at any point. One thing I think fucking Chris Paul fucked up at very bad is he should have not went to the Rockets, and if I was him last off season, I would have fucking went to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Yeah, you look at them now, and the Minnesota Timberwolves are ass, and they beat them. But if you look back then, I mean, the Minnesota Timberwolves have had Karl Anthony Towns, which is a huge prospect, going to be a really good center in the league. They had Jimmy Butler, so he's not a bad shooting guard. He's really determined to win, so he can't shoot that great. But that's why I thought Chris Paul would be perfect. To have Jimmy Butler to be the go in guy and just be that aggressive guy. Chris Paul could stay back and just kind of relax and be able to take threes and mid ranges, which is more so his thing. But instead, he just decided to go with obviously the better player, James Harden, but in a system that doesn't work. Obviously, yes, the Rockets system is just favoring the guards, but if I was the Rockets, I would have went out and got myself somebody else, especially a bigger man, just to help the team. I don't know why Chris Paul decided to go there. I mean, I think he actually got traded, so I can't give him the fault, but honestly, I don't know why the Rockets wanted him. So I just don't think that's a really good fit. Donovan Mitchell, on the other hand, is having the rookie season of a fucking decade. He's, I want to say, the only rookie, of course, besides Ben Simmons, if you want to consider him a rookie, but he's the only rookie in the league this year that is actually taking matters into his own hands. And that's where I want to say that him and Chris Paul have to differ the most, just because Donovan Mitchell is carrying the fucking Utah Jazz. It's just that simple. That team has Derek Favors, Rudy Gobert, Ricky Rubio is injured, and they still won last night. Who the fuck do they have that is gonna somehow help them win? That and their coaching is better. They can play defense. So what happens is when the Rockets don't make their shots, it becomes really hard for them to go in and come back and win. So obviously, just because the Utah Jazz do play defense, it obviously makes it harder. As in, the Houston Rockets they just don't play really good defense. They're all about the offense. So the night that they don't go out there and make a million shots, they're fucked. Now another huge thing by me watching the game last night that I noticed was that they did this thing where the Rockets came out in the beginning, and they were playing obviously, but they weren't trying their very very hardest, and you can kind of tell that. And because of that, they weren't making all their shots. They weren't getting the open looks that they needed because they weren't being aggressive enough. So because of that, the Utah Jazz took advantage, and they went out and played very good defense and got the points they could on offense. And by the end of by the third, it was just really hard for, because that's the thing. I did see the game, and the Rockets were able to kind of come back, but the Utah Jazz then took another big lead, and that's the thing right there. By them not coming out strong enough in the beginning, it gave the Utah Jazz the opportunity to build momentum and create and take advantage of the better defense that they use, the better defensive techniques. That at the end of it, it was just too late for the Houston Rockets to come out and win. So I think that for the next game, obviously, it's going to be much tougher for the Houston Rockets because they're in Salt Lake City, Utah. So it's going to be much tougher. But I think they need to just come out from the jump and with this determination to want to win. Because if they don't, the Utah Jazz will take advantage at home for the next two games and basically shut them out. I mean, it's not like Chris Paul and Donovan Mitchell really had those crazy different games. Like let's see, last game they had here. Donovan Mitchell played last night 38 minutes and he had 17 points, not that crazy. He had 11 assists though, so obviously he's a very versatile player. And he actually elevated himself a lot throughout the playoffs, especially in the Thunder series. He really just came out and conquered. He really just showed what he was capable of. He basically almost averaged 30 points in that series, high 20s. So obviously, he can give you any type of help you need on the team, so he can make others better, elevate them, and he can also, shoot and make shots when it's needed. And the other thing with Chris Paul is, yeah, he's good. He's actually a better shooter by a slight difference compared to Donovan Mitchell. He is a better shooter, 3-point and mid-range. But he's too short to run in and kind of just give the scare to the opponent that he might shoot or, drive in, because he's just too small. So it doesn't do anything. Donovan Mitchell has played shooting guard. He also is now playing point guard here and there because Ricky Rubio is injured. So I'll give him a huge credit for that. And Chris Paul also has no. They don't need him. Like, if he's there and he's not, yeah, it's kind of a difference, but you can't tell me that James Harden couldn't go out there on any given night and play his best game and win games without Chris Paul. I mean, that's what I'm saying. If they would have just kept, I actually, in my opinion, love the idea of Pat Beverly being on the team and James Harden being on the team, and that just being it right there for their guards starting off. And if they went out and would have gotten another player, picture if the Rockets would have gotten somebody like Blake Griffin. They could have had Pat Beverly, who is insanely great at playing defense, and he's also not a bad offensive player, role player, but he's not bad. I take that just because of the great defense he does play. So that equals up defense-wise with Chris Paul, in my opinion. Because, Pat Bev is like a gnat. He will just get in your way. It'll be really annoying. James Harden is still there doing his thing. And then you have Blake Griffin and Clint Capella who can elevate themselves. Blake can shoot threes, so that's an amazing power forward position for them. And Trevor Ariza, always elite. I mean, I like Mamute. I just don't think Mamute is elite enough to be even a starter on that team if they want to go far and win, rings. So that's what I would have done differently. But we're here now. I really, really think that the Rockets will be able to take it, but Utah does have a really good chance at taking it too. It all really depends what happens when they go back to Utah. Game 3 will give us a really big look into what the series will open up to be, just because right now it's 1-1 going back to Utah. Let's see if Utah can maintain the reputation of being the hardest place to play in the NBA. I know that OKC and Westbrook, they've all, they've commented and said that it's not the best place to play. People judge you, people get in your face. So let's see how that goes. If Utah can maintain that reputation and win both games at home, obviously they have a very big advantage in going out and winning the series. But if the Rockets can maintain, and I'm sure they'll be switching up their plays and everything, like James Harden said in the interview last night. Obviously, the Utah Jazz had lost game one, so they were going to come out with a different type of play game two, and the Rockets just weren't ready for it. So uh, that should be very interesting coming up. I think the Rockets do go on, and Chris Paul does make his first appearance in the Western Conference Finals. But if Donovan Mitchell does make it, that's crazy as shit because it's his first fucking year. He's literally carrying the whole team. He's not on a team where there's good players and he's just there and it's all working out. No, he's on a shit team that before this year was a team that made the playoffs. They were like the Memphis Grizzlies, just made the playoffs, middle right there, and just kind of got fucked, lost to the same usual team. I mean, the Warriors fried them last year in Utah. They even made jokes saying that there was nothing to do in Utah. So it's really all about what they can maintain. If they can maintain, the talks and reputation that have been going on throughout this season with Donovan Mitchell and just the difference in play, then yeah, maybe they can do it and it'll be really interesting. And Donovan Mitchell will have achieved something that Chris Paul wouldn't achieve yet in the past, I don't know how many fucking years. So it'll be really interesting to watch. We'll really get into that as soon as I watch that game. I'll keep you guys updated. We can see what's going to happen next. Thank you guys for tuning in with me.